Polycystic ovarian syndrome, or PCOS, is an endocrine disorder which means it causes a hormonal imbalance in the body of those affected. The hormonal imbalance leads to changes in the body affecting menstrual cycles and growing cysts on the ovaries.
My first period at the age of 13, and I never had my second period until I was 15, 16 years of age. And I had excessive hair growth over my body, and I had terrible stomach issues, pain in the tummy. I had a discussion with my mum and we decided to go to the doctors, who ended up doing a blood test and ended up doing a scan. And then at the age of 14, that's when I got diagnosed.
I think I had my first period when I was 13, 14. And then I didn't have another one for at least a year. And because I hadn't had anything in that year, my mum suggested that I went and had blood tests and potentially ultrasounds to see whether I do have PCOS.
I was in year 5 when I had sort of issues with my periods. They were quite heavy. I used to get quite bad abdominal pain where I'd be like curled up in a ball. And after that I went into high school. My periods were quite erratic, so I could go without a period for about a year.
PCOS affects up to 10% of women worldwide and affects 1 in 10 women in the UK. Though very commonly seen, it is still unknown as to the direct cause of PCOS. All that is known is that it is hereditary, so can be passed down to offspring. To be diagnosed with PCOS, you need to show at least 2 of 3 main symptoms. These are irregular periods, so you do not bleed monthly as is normal of the female anatomy. To have higher androgen levels in your body. This is a higher than normal level of predominantly male hormones. And enlarged ovaries containing follicles. These are small sacs filled with fluid inside the ovaries, and they secrete hormones that affect your menstrual cycle.
I had terrible hair growth over my face, excessive hair growth, the normal on my arms and hands and on my legs. And I even had hair on the bottom of my back and my belly.
I couldn't lose weight. I've always had an issue with losing weight. Ironically, in the last 6 months is the only time that I've managed to be able to sustain, to lose weight and do it a lot in a short space of time. But it's required a lot of hard work and finding the right diet.
You don't really feel very feminine. And it's hard to sort of just have people understand where you're coming from, because constantly having to shave, and it's quite emotional dealing with it.
You sometimes suffer with weight gain, and it's not always easy to lose weight. I didn't feel completely comfortable with my girlfriends because they all had the perfect face with no hair, and I had the hair, and I wanted to wear my hair up, but I felt I couldn't because I had the hair around the sides and the chin, so I didn't want to expose people to make fun of me, basically.
I've been lucky in respect to the hair growth. I've not necessarily, my hair's blonde, so it's not as obvious. I do have a lot of hair growth, but it's blonde, so it's not as obvious to be seen. And I get really bad acne. What I did as a kid, not so much now, but I still do get very bad acne.
I was newly dating my current partner, and he would sort of go like that on my face, and I would sort of be like, oh, don't do that. Like, especially if I'm in like a bit of like an emotional mood, or just like, I think it's more about my sort of physical PCOS really than anything else.
But I've always felt that my hair never looked good no matter what I did. Even on my wedding day, although I had it done by a hairdresser, I didn't feel that my hair looked as good as like another bride that I went to a wedding to. But I always felt I wasn't that perfect person. Although I know I was marrying a man who loved me and I loved him, I just didn't feel that I was that perfect bride.
I was excessively bullied for it at school, and also called manly. Obviously, however I was, my facial features or whatever about me looked manly. So I was ridiculed for it at school, which made it tough. It took a while to overcome that.
Being made fun of because I was the big kid. I used to just pluck my face and made sure no one could see that I had hair on my face because that would be an issue. Not wanting to go like on sleepovers sometimes because, you know, you need to take a razor with you, and it does make you feel a bit alone because no one sort of truly understands unless they've got it.
There are additional side effects caused by the hormonal imbalance from PCOS, more than just irregular periods. Many of those diagnosed suffer from insulin resistance. This means the body cannot efficiently break down sugars in the bloodstream for energy. This alternately causes it to be stored as fat in the body. Many can also experience some or all of the following symptoms: unexplained weight gain with no change to lifestyle or diet, excessive body hair growth in areas such as face, back, chest, stomach, and buttocks, thinning or male pattern baldness to the hair on top of their head, infertility or difficulty falling pregnant, severe acne or oily skin, 40% lower BMR, basal metabolic rate, otherwise known as resting metabolic rate.
I probably wax more often than I should. I've been waxing since I was about 21. And obviously now, because I've waxed for so long, the hair growth has slowed down a bit.
So yeah, the doctor they're really frustrating. She wouldn't send me, as much as I told her to send me to a gynecologist, she wouldn't refer me. I went for various blood tests, had an internal as well as an external ultrasound, just to confirm that I had PCOS, even though I knew 10 years ago that I had PCOS. She put me on vitamin D because she said that I was depressed, which made me feel amazing.
It really put a toll on me in high school. I felt quite alone, especially after I was diagnosed, because I didn't know anyone who had it. I don't know, at the time I dwelled on it, I was quite like, why me?
When I started going through menopause, I ended up having an hysterectomy because I was going from not having periods to having periods every 2 weeks. And I ended up going to a kind of gynecologist, and they ended up and decided to give me an hysterectomy, which I have to say made me feel better. But obviously it still left me with issues that I still have to deal with every day, with the hair growth, the weight gain and things like that.
I've always been sporty, so doing exercise has never necessarily been my problem. I just never got anything out of it. So I think I was playing football 3 times a week. I was swimming 3 or 4 times a week, and I was just static. I didn't change.
Work was even a bit weird with me about it, because you're trying to explain and they're just like, oh, why are you not coming in? I don't know, it just gets a bit trying to explain to everyone, and they just think you're either over exaggerating or you're on a period, it's normal, or what? You've got stomach ache? Well, come in. But it's not just normal stomach ache, it's like, yeah.
PCOS can also cause further problems for many sufferers. The risks that PCOS can lead to are type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart disease, strokes, sleep apnea, depression, cancer of the womb. With more recent studies, it is advised to see an endocrinologist, which is a hormone specialist or dietitian to help control or reverse symptoms.
The best chance possibly would be referring me to the fertility clinic, where I would be put on IVF. So I was on a waiting list for that. And so we just went away on holiday, enjoyed the holiday. And then next thing I know, I come back and I found out I was pregnant with my first daughter, which was absolutely over the moon. It couldn't have been any happier.
Not every person who has PCOS is the same, and their body reacts differently to it. So some, like my cousin has it, and she's gone and had two children naturally. She pretty much got pregnant as soon as they started trying, where I've been trying for 2 years and been unsuccessful. So it's different from person to person, and I don't think GPs necessarily understand that.
I just kind of felt a bit, I don't know, kind of stripped away of my womanhood in a sense, because they said I couldn't get pregnant. So, but that was not true, because I've got this little man here.
When we tried again, it was about 3.5 years after the second baby, I was put on Clomid and metformin again, which I did fall pregnant again, but unfortunately I lost that. I miscarried the third one. So, and then I've never tried again, because I just didn't want to go through the heartache of going through another chance of miscarriage.
The problem when you get diagnosed, they just think, yeah, you have it, deal with it. They don't really give you anything to help other than putting me on the contraceptive pill to sort of, regulate my periods. I guess I just dealt with it.
That they said my cysts were rupturing when I was having like really bad stomach aches, where I'd be like sort of not over. So I was off school with things like that. Really bad periods, doctor's appointment.
Fertility assistance still relies on the BMI system to determine who is entitled to gain help. But even those who are able to gain help or fall pregnant become at a higher risk of certain complications such as preeclampsia, miscarriage, gestational diabetes, hypertension. Once getting past all these complications, it is still possible to then pass PCOS down to children.
She said, you just have to lose weight. I said, well, can you advise me on a diet? And she said, well, let's put it this way. If I locked you in a prison cell and just fed you on bread and water, you'd lose weight. And that was the help she gave me. And she said she wouldn't see me again until I lost weight. So I left that absolutely deflated, that appointment, and she made me feel 10 times worse already. The fact that I couldn't have a child that I felt naturally. Going through some mental torture with myself, questioning me on that I would never have children, which broke my heart. All I wanted was a family of my own.
But I still have days where I am like that, but I try not to keep it in. I try to talk about it, and by talking about it, it therefore, like with James, I then get the positivities back, and then I don't have as many of the mental dips as I had previously had years ago. It's really helping me mentally to be positive that I'm getting closer to that goal of potentially having a baby, because at the moment it's the one thing and it's the only thing I want.
I've got all these things that I don't know how to deal with. I've got my periods, I've got the weight, I've got the facial hair, and there's not really a great deal I can do with it at all. So I don't think it was dealt with the best way.
I spoke to my mum, and she was understanding to some extent, but because she didn't experience the struggles that I had, I suppose she couldn't really understand what I was going through. And I suppose she did try to support me, but I felt as if I didn't get that support from my mum, because I felt she didn't understand where I was coming from. Because I know of all the hurt I went through, you just pray that your children don't go through that. When my girls started having period issues, then I started to think maybe they've got the polycystic ovary problem. So then I felt a bit I felt really guilty that because it's me that basically they've got this.
The turmoil that I went through at school with kids being mean as always. But then you do find sometimes their comments that they come out with can be hurtful. I don't think they tend to do so, but they can sometimes be hurtful. But in reality, I didn't have any friends, so my family was just it. So that's all I had, and so they were as supportive as they can be in those situations.
It's not just affecting me myself, it's affecting my family, and the way how if I'm feeling down, it's sort of they're trying to sort of help me, and just the sort of time through different appointments or different struggles I'm having personally, it puts not just a toll on me but a toll on my family, I guess, because no one likes seeing someone upset, or they want to help but they can't help, and it can get kind of rough on people. And
there is no proven, non-known cure for this endocrine disorder. Many people who suffer with PCOS are often searching for the feeling of normality, being able to present themselves outwardly as normal or feel internally normal, finding a way to cope with the challenges they have been presented in life.
I feel as if I battled with PCO and I won. I beat it, and I'm a proud mum of 2 daughters. And also I found a man who loved me for who I am. He loves me for me, no matter. Basically, he loves me for me. And he don't think anything of my hair or my body. He just loves me. And the fact that I had 2 daughters that I never ever thought I would ever have, I think is the biggest accomplishment I've ever had in my life. And I just really wish that they knew how proud I am of them. Sorry.
Say like PCOS is like having diabetes without actually having diabetes, basically. Obviously people being heavier, they're obviously more at risk of also getting diabetes as well as having PCOS.
at the time my doctor said you need to stop eating cake to me, and I was thinking to myself, I've not even had a piece of cake for months, and I just sort of came home and sort of cried.
You put this shield up and you try to make yourself accept in society, to conform to the normal, I suppose, is what you really do. And at the end of the day, what is normal?